Hi, I'm Gemma, and this is a chat with Gemma. So, I was thinking, how interesting it is that some people just really don't like somebody else to have a different opinion to them. So, I've got a relative who really gets upset if somebody believes, say, something that they disagree with on the topic of politics. They just get furiously angry with other people. And then there are others who, I don't know, they believe a particular thing about diet or, medical matters or something, and they get worked up that other people are saying something or doing something that they think is wrong. And the fact that they themselves might be completely 100% wrong doesn't seem to enter into it. They just almost stick to their guns despite any evidence against it. In fact, I was listening to something about like the last days of Hitler. Don't ask me why. Anyway, I was just listening to this thing while I was doing something else. And this, I think it was a woman, described Hitler and how he was like that he just always thought that he was right. I think it was his sister, that from childhood on, he was always in charge of the playing and all of that. And I think he even told his mother what to do in the household. And so he went on through his life like that, considering that he was the one who had to tell everybody what to do, be in charge, all of that. And he could not be talked out of things. So if he believed a particular thing, even then when he was shown the evidence showing that he was wrong, he would still doggedly go on with the opinion that he had. So that takes a big dose of arrogance, doesn't it? I think also there could be fear. So perhaps if you think somebody might talk you out of what you believe, you can be afraid of that, because then you're like, oh, now I'm going to be lost without that belief, or that was kind of holding me up, and now what will I do? I'm going to have to work things out all over again. So I think there can be fears of various kinds. So, for example, of course, being a Catholic, I'm vehemently against abortion, and I have friends who believe in abortion. But one friend, she believed in abortion, and she kind of stopped being my friend for a while when she found out that I was against abortion. So, I think that it is sort of, it does seem to be a natural trait in human beings to get angry with somebody else who has a different opinion. But at the same time as that, I think we have to be able to grow out of that, and to, as we mature in age and hopefully get more intelligent as we get older, not less so, we should be able to have dialogue with people without yelling at each other, any of these things. One of the topics I like to talk about is religion, of course, and I find that 99% of the time I can talk about religion quite peaceably. But, there was one chap who he was yelling at me, and some of the history of some of the different denominations, the different Christian denominations, you can see that there were these situations where usually a man decided that, they're not supposed to believe this, the Bible says this, and they're misinterpreting it. So I'm out of here and I'm going to start up a new church, and they, have a new building, and they, these people always seem to manage to draw people in, because I think I don't really want to compare them to Hitler, but you know what I mean. People like Hitler, who are loud and very vehement and really do seem to believe that they're right. So they talk that way, always seem to have a big crowd of people that they can draw, because somebody that sounds like they believe that they're right can convince other people to think that they know what they're talking about. So, of course, these people, they go off and start a new denomination, and you've got all these people that leave the church, the original church, and now they're all sitting up there. And, of course, this is exactly the scenario that's going to feed the ego of somebody like that. So away he goes, he's now the big man, he's the one out the front talking, not these other fellows, and saying what he thinks. And, of course, eventually the young people grow up and become young adults. And, these people, they're all a bit old-fashioned and stuffy by now, and why can't we play our, violins in the church, or down the track a bit, why can't we play our electric guitars and drums in the church, or whatever? And so they go off with their new kind of way of, doing a service, and on it goes, because people just don't seem to have the capacity to come together, even though they disagree, and talk peaceably and listen to what the other person believes and why they believe it, and maybe even consider it yourself. So, yeah, I know my family, several members of my family were kind of headhunted by other churches, and it's not my idea of evangelisation. It's those churches' views of evangelisation, but evangelisation for me is taking somebody who's not a Christian and converting them to Christianity. That's evangelisation. It's not grabbing a Catholic, and pulling them over into your church. And I think some churches are made up purely of ex-Catholics, it seems to me. But yeah, so wouldn't it be interesting if people could come together more and just, I don't know, put our egos down a bit and sort of think, look, I do think this person's an idiot, but I'm going to let them speak anyway. And then I expect them to let me speak. And we absolutely all get to speak. And I think Christians could come together and find out ways to pray. For example, if you're a Catholic person and you're going to pray, say, with an ecumenical group, you're not going to start praying the Hail Mary or whatever, because that will offend them. And St. Paul even talked about that, offending people who see something as wrong, So you could come together and find out some way that what are the things we believe? What are the things that we agree on? And how are we going to pray together in a way that doesn't offend anybody in this group? And imagine if people got together in bigger groups and just prayed together in agreement, not in disagreement, and didn't, hold their nose up at each other. And imagine how many people would come together and pray in that way, and all those little broken, splintered groups would come together and be bigger and more powerful. Could the war against Ukraine have ended by now? Could the war in the Middle East have ended by now? Could Xi in China, given up his eyeing off of, poor old Taiwan and, leave them in peace by now? Also, who knows what extraordinary things could happen if people came together in maturity and intelligence and respect for each other, Just a thought. All right, I hope you're well, and I hope you've got peace of mind at the moment, and that you're healthy and well. All right, bye for now.